What's going on, everybody? We're live and alive, and it's the inauguration. It's Jover. The Burger Reich is here. So I'm diving right into it.
Things happen, like a lot of people in our country.
Monday,
be in our country right now.
20th of January, 2025. An incredibly important day that will be remembered in history.
Right from the beginning, we went to
the Trump inauguration is upon us, and I'm going right into it.
Trump went to number
I just left the dentist's office, and I'm here, and I'm ready to go.
Then we took on Hillary. She didn't look too happy today. We took on Hillary, a very nice person.
He's doing his tight five. We got the tight five president, folks.
Then we did much better the second time in 2020. You know, we got millions more votes. We got millions, like 10, 12 million more votes than we did the first time.
I'm going to blast off as well.
No president has ever gotten that many more votes. I got like 9 million more than anybody else had ever gotten.
This is his inauguration speech.
And because of that, I said to Melania, what do you think? And she said, you want to do this again? And had we lost, and had I thought we lost, I wouldn't do it again, because that's like the ultimate poll, right? But I knew how well we did, and this time we made it too big to rig. It was so big. They tried like hell in the butt. They tried to do it, and around 9:02 they gave up. Last time they did bad things, but this time they just said, you know, I don't know if you saw, Mr. Speaker, in Washington, they had placards. They were all set to march. They thought it'd be closer. A gentleman asked me, a very respected gentleman asked me yesterday, how come the polls were so wrong? They showed you winning.
Hassan, I went back to the incarcerated firefighters.
I said, because people that are true Trumpers are so angry at the whole polling system.
Yeah, I know I missed most of the inauguration. I was getting drilled, okay?
So when you call,
I know he gave his inauguration speech already. We're gonna listen to all of that in a little bit, okay? Calm down. I'm just catching up to what's going on, all right? Give me a fucking break.
So they would discard that one, and they didn't show that. And then when the election happened, you know, the vote came, and it was much different, much higher than we're going to win.
I literally left the dentist's office and I drove home.
The one man said, I mean, it was so much higher.
And went live immediately. Stop complaining.
We won the popular vote by millions of votes, which is hard for a Republican. I'll tell you who came through. The unions came through. The auto workers were great. The Teamsters were great. The firemen were great. I think almost every union was great. The only one that weren't great, although Sean was great, and the Teamsters, the head of the Sean O'Brien, the head of the Teamsters,
friend of the show,
was fantastic.
Friend of the show mentioned.
Generally speaking, the head of the union was against Trump, but the union would be with us for like 80, 85%. Look what we did with the auto workers in Michigan. Look what we did with the Teamsters. The Teamsters were unbelievable. They were a solid Democrat vote, and they voted for Trump. So we had a great experience. This has been, now we have to go to work and get it done, because we have to do
blast
something.
Off. We blasted off.
We're going to turn our country around, and we're going to turn it around fast. And I think this was a better speech than the one I made upstairs, okay? I think this was better, JD. I think this was much better, and I got to see my friend. So, Governor, take care of yourself. You call me, we'll start working. You know what that means with him? He's going to be calling me tomorrow morning at about 6. And I said, how about next week? You call me and we're going to get it started real fast. We'll really help you a lot. You've done a fantastic job protecting something which it's not supposed to be for the states. And amazing job you've done. Thank you very much. And I want to thank everybody. And I have a First Lady who's been incredible. She's been incredible. I shouldn't say this. I'm going to get hell when I say this, but her feet are absolutely aching. You know, those heels. And we thought we were leaving. We were going home. Sir, would you be able to go down and say hello to some of your other fans that are here? I said, oh, I didn't know that. Wow. Did you get to see pretty clearly the picture, I hope? Good. That's good. But because you wouldn't want to make the same speech again, right? But she said, darling, I love you so much, but my feet are killing me. I said, honey, let me just see how far it is. I asked the person. Oh, not that long, maybe 400 or 500 yards. That's 5 football fields. I said, can you make it? She said, we're going to make it no matter what. We're going to make it because we have to go. Right? Right? And then we went out to the helicopter, though, just prior to this and said goodbye. And it's a custom. And the wind is blowing like crazy. And with the hat that she's wearing, she almost blew away. We almost lost off her. She was being elevated off the ground. She almost blew away. No. So we all appreciate it because she's been a great first lady. A beautiful and a great first lady. And they love our first lady. You know, JD, whenever I make a speech, I see hundreds of times, we love our first lady. We love, and they do. And they should. She's great. So I just want to thank you. Thank you very much. I just want to thank everybody.
Bro, I like people being like, oh, I can't believe he's president. I can't believe he's yapping all this stuff. I'm going to be honest with you. It's just, this is it. This is, America sucks.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Bye-bye.
Okay?
I gave you the A+.
America sucks.
Thank you.
I'm going to keep it $1.50. And as a nation that sucks, we're going to have a president that sucks. Okay? This is the most expected outcome. Democrats sold the country off and sold your rights away, signed your rights away. We're an embarrassing country. And I think that even Trump supporters are somewhat aware of the demise. 4 years of free content for you, you're so stupid, okay? I don't care about free content. I have long maintained the position that no matter what, I would much rather not have a fantastic, robust media career as long as we got to have Medicare for all. Okay? It's not about content. We have mass ICE raids incoming starting tomorrow. Probably starting today, if we're being real. I would rather have a boring country where American citizens' needs are solved instead of a, content-filled 4 years where horrifying, cruel things are happening with regular frequency. Okay? So, having said that, this is the worst day to call you a content demon. You chose the dentist instead of a 300K plus stream. Exactly. I'm going to Japan soon. I had my another dentist thing that I had to do, and instead of live streaming the inauguration and sitting in front of 300,000 people, I did all of that. Having said that, there's still plenty of commentary to do, and there's still plenty of moments to cover from the inauguration, which I'm going to go into in a brief moment. Okay? Asman has 70,000 real viewers. It's botted. Oh, they're botting Asman now? Like they were botting, like last time when they were botting E-Rob? Is that what it is? But regardless, it doesn't matter. I probably still would have gotten like at least 100K to 200K if I was live while this was happening. But it doesn't matter. Not taking advantage of medical tourism while traveling. It doesn't matter. What matters is today is the first day of the Burger Reich. The hogs are in full force. People who are shunned or afraid to say things out loud today are saying, I'm driving around our neighborhood looking for illegals and reporting Mexicans. Join me and I want to die. People like that live near me. Yeah. So the Burger Reich is here and America's demise is near. Okay? And we're going to talk about it. You look so sad. Well, I mean, yeah, I think that Donald Trump is going to be a horrible president. And it's beginning. Donald Trump is going to be a horrible president, and it's starting right now. There's still more to come today. He will sign executive orders at the Capitol in a bit. The day's not over. Yeah. Also, Joe Biden did a bunch of fun little last second moments, last second pardons. Apparently, I was on Hassan Minaj's YouTube video where I think he was making fun of me, maybe. I don't know what happened there. But they were saying Hassan on Hassan violence. Oh, here it is.
Then the far left will hate on the pundits. Oh, they fucking nuts. Simultaneously, MAGA will then hate on the lefties and the pundits.
Okay, only 30K viewers in here. The world is finally healing. Well, most of your viewers are probably still asleep. God knows they ain't work, lol. I like that people's political analysis on twitch.tv revolves around how many viewers I have at any given time. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I'm live. First of all, it's MLK Day. Secondly, it's I'm live for 10 minutes. So, you know, I've been live for 15 minutes. Calm down. All right. Last but not least, none of the shit matters, okay? If today you are excited that Donald Trump is finally the president again after 4 years of the Brandon regime, where Republicans were sent off to work camps for the crime of being patriotic or saying that there are two genders or whatever, and that finally a new dawn, a new day is upon us, and all of a sudden egg prices are going to go down. All of a sudden the price of goods are going to be manageable. All of a sudden you're going to start making more money at your job. Your boss is no longer going to screw you over. You're magically going to be able to pay rent. Well, you've been duped. It's not going to happen. Just letting y'all know, it's not going to happen. What will happen, on the other hand, is that all of the things that you enjoy, all of your consumer goods that you enjoy, are going to continuously get worse and worse year over year. Your life standards or your work standards are not going to improve. And you're probably going to find yourself even more angry because there will be a bully pulpit that tunes you up every second of the day, trying to make you hyper-focus on your neighbors that are responsible for your demise. It's not the wealthy. It's not the powerful. They deserve corporate tax cuts. That's coming. They deserve more profits. They deserve higher profits. They deserve to pay less in taxes. And slowly but surely, I think the American war machine will continue tuning up as it has. In many ways, nothing will change. In some very meaningful ways, things only stand to get worse. An apt MLK quote for this photo. Yeah. By the millions, people in the other America find themselves perishing on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. That's a good one. Trump said he wanted to take Panama Canal again. Yeah. Do you think we will see an improvement in things like price of core goods to appease the proles before they start putting pressure in? Or do you think it'll be full steam ahead? We'll see. Well, I don't know. Migrants in Ciudad Juarez who were waiting for their 1 p.m. CBP1 parole appointments learned 20 minutes ago that the app is shut down and those appointments are no longer valid. Coworker believes that the answer to financial freedom is crypto, but doesn't acknowledge his medical debt. No, coworker is awesome. The coworkers are on top. Let me tell you something, okay? Coworker politics is on the rise. Coworker interests are on the rise. We are now living in the coworker dystopia. And the coworker is not wrong technically when he says, "Oh, the future of money is crypto." We had not one, not two, but three different people in Trump's immediate orbit, including Trump himself, pull off crypto rug pulls sequentially in the last 48 hours. You understand? Do you understand? Donald Trump, Melania Trump, and then the Students for Trump guy, all three of them pulled crypto rug pulls to the tune of multiple hundreds of millions of dollars right before Donald Trump was inaugurated, right before he became the president. That is the future of America. The future of America is cons, quick schemes, cons for rubes and suckers. Everyone joining in on the fun, thinking that they will not be the bag holders, but will actually grab the bag and pass it down the line.
Reagan, during his first inauguration day, signed executive orders in this room, as did President Johnson, signed the Voting Rights Act
what
with
about
Martin
black
Luther
people,
King
Hassan?
Jr. in that room. So it's very historic.
Oh, by the way, I have a hair trigger today. I'm probably going to ban a lot more people. Like, I'm just letting you know, if you come in here to try to derail specifically, just by saying like, what about black people, Hassan? You're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to ban you. I'm going to permanently ban you, and you will never get unbanned.
And two words for you for what we've just seen so far in the last couple of moments here. Number one, historic. There has been no other president that has made inaugural remarks inside the Capitol Visitor Center, because it didn't exist a very long time ago. So this was the first time we saw, if you want to call it an inaugural speech or an inaugural chat, this was the first time a president did this. And I'm sure everyone in Congress is really glad they built the Capitol Visitor Center, because it came in handy today on a very cold day. The second word to think about, electric. This is the word that was used when I was texting lawmakers inside the Capitol Rotunda during the swearing-in ceremony. I asked them, how does it feel in there? Because when you're watching on TV, you kind of feel that moment, but what does it feel like in there? And they said it was electric, not just because of the moment, but the people that President Trump has curated in just the last year over this campaign. Like you mentioned, Jeff Bezos of the world, Joe Rogan was in there, who helped him reach an entirely new audience, and also Miriam Adelson, who helped him reach the Jewish American vote. So all of these people that sort of helped him come to this moment, he in a way thanked them for being there, and some new friends as well, like the Mark Zuckerbergs that he hopes to work with in the future. So all very new things for us to watch here, and a really exciting time right now.
Aisha Hasni, live on the Hill. Aisha, thanks. Britt Hume's still with us. And Kaylee McEnany here, you listened to that second speech, and I could see your mind saying, if I was press secretary, how would I answer these questions?
I'd be taking diligent notes and footnotes to go underneath those notes. Look, one of the great things about President Trump that I learned when I was press secretary is accessibility. I recall when Jen Psaki was once asked, hey, did you speak with the president today? And she kind of circumvented the question. And anyone who knows communications picked up on, oh, I don't think she spoke with the president before this briefing. Caroline Leavitt will not have that problem. The president, in many ways, is his own spokesperson.
Oh. Yeah, let's watch the carcass deliver his last speech, I guess.
First Lady,
did we just miss it?
Moments ago, leaving Joint Base Andrews. You can see the plane there waiting for them. The president, former president, saying, stay engaged, saying, I've been doing this for 50 years. Did say something like we're on the cusp of...
Oh, Biden gave a speech and I missed it? Yeah, I don't really care. Dude, I'm not going to lie. I'm having a hard time caring, man. I really am. In terms of like caring about all the dangerous things that are about to happen, I'm going to offer a lot of coverage and hopefully do my very best to speak on the humanity of the victims, okay, of this upcoming administration. But in terms of all the palace intrigue, in terms of like, oh, Joe Biden, ooh, drama, John Fetterman, did he wear a short and hoodie? Like, what were Biden's last words? I don't care. I do think it's stupid and silly that he did that like last second perma pardon thing. I think that everything overall just sucks. I don't know. I can't help but feel like everything is bad and it will continue getting worse. And I don't mean that because like, oh, I got owned and Donald Trump is wait, oh my God. Ben Cohen hit me up. Co-founder of Ben and Jerry's, Ben Cohen. Wait, what? In honor of Doge, I'm launching Doge VS Blob. What is a meme contest highlighting the biggest government spender and waster? We're giving away 1,000 Dogecoin a day. If anyone can slash the Pentagon budget, Elon Musk can. Let's support him. Wait, what? Is this a scam? Is he? I'm confused. Okay. I don't know what's happening here, but you know, I'll try to understand it a little bit better. So, no, he's not. I don't think he's hacked. I don't think he's hacked, but I forget what I was gonna say. God damn it. Ken Klippenstein is already on it. Border Patrol has already been given a list of new intelligence collection priorities today. Homeland Security source tells me it's already beginning. So, as far as like me saying, oh, I think everything is just bad. The Trump supporter will hear me say that and go, oh, get wrecked, liberal. You're only saying that because Donald Trump is president and you feel bad because your party lost. But I've maintained this not so cheery attitude since before the election season ended. I have been on a relatively cynical, relatively pessimistic path since I would say the aftermath of the DNC. Vibes have been bad. And I don't think necessarily that the Trump administration is, in the grand scheme of things, the Trump administration is not going to make America's demise. How do I describe this? Like, I think we're fucked regardless of whether it was Kamala Harris or Donald Trump winning the presidency. Like, I think America, the American project, is coming to a close. But I do think that Trump will make it faster. If that makes sense. That's the way I look at it. Like, I think that our demise is inevitable. And I also think that Trump supporters themselves kind of see it too. Maybe last time around, maybe in 2016, they had an environment of hope and change, ironically enough. White man's Obama had taken over the government, and it was the first time around, so they were excited. This time, it's more about vengeance upon their enemies, right? Enforcing cruel and unusual punishments upon those who they feel have betrayed them. Liberals, trans people, Mexicans, and the like. But overall, I think everyone's kind of, like, even normies, I would say, kind of have this attitude where they feel like things are not looking too good. Things are not looking too great for America, even with Donald Trump as president. Or at least that's the attitude that I'm getting from people that I know that have voted for Donald Trump.
It's a tradition.
Sir, the first is 22 cabinet and cabinet level appointments for your signature.
Okay.
It's the truth. You vote for division, you get it. What do you mean vote for division? Who votes for unity? What is the unity vote? There's a duopoly, my man. I don't know what kind of silliness this is. Like you think you're making like an adult take or something, but
47 sub-cabinet level appointments, sir.
But you don't have to sign 47.
I have no idea what the hell Melania's wearing, by the way. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm sure Americans really love that. Like the real Americans today look at that and go, that's a real fit, Madam First Lady. Why does she look like Oppenheimer?
Thank you, sir. You now have 31 acting designations and appointments to effectively...
I know what a zoot suit is. Are you kidding me? I think zoot suits are fucking amazing. Zoot suits are the proletarian's garb. I want to get a zoot suit. Don't give her that. Don't give her that. Don't tell her that it's the zoot suit.
Commission chairman and acting chairman.
He was number one at Harvard also. You know that?
Good counsel.
They have something in common.
Thank you, sir. Lastly, we have a proclamation ordering that on all future inauguration days, including this inauguration day, that flags shall be flown at full mast.
Very important.
Very important. It's because of Jimmy Carter that the flags were flying at half mast. Are they signing an executive order to fly them full mast?
Inauguration tonight, the sound was so good. The temperature was 72 degrees, but the sound was so good on it. So maybe something to think about.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Good acoustics. Yes.
All right. Now thank you. We go to
I can't believe Jake and Logan Paul are at the inauguration. Well, why am I saying I can't believe that? That's the most that is the future. This is America's future. If you want to understand, like, Jake and Logan Paul taking photos with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. That is, oh, wait, is that Witkoff? What the hell is Witkoff doing right there? Bro should be in Gaza right now.
Great job. Thank you.
Mr. President, do you have any reaction to the pardons President Biden did at the last minute?
Why didn't you go?
Discuss it now.
Chat. Obviously, I didn't go because I have never done a crypto rug pull. Okay. In order to attend the inauguration, you have to either A, do a crypto rug pull, like a last second one. Melania literally had to do one last second so she could attend the inauguration. Okay. I've never done that. Like, I've never been in a drunk driving incident where I killed a family, you know. No sexual assault charges. None of that. So obviously, in that situation, they're like, oh, yeah, you can't come. Like, sorry. We looked it up. We looked it up, and it seems like you have none of the qualifications, none of the credentials to go to the inauguration.
Okay with that, Mary Bruce, our chief White House correspondent, will now cover the Trump administration, listening in on that.
I've talked about this yesterday. There's a whole thesis that can be written about the fact that fashion houses are now open to dressing both Usha and Melania as opposed to not dressing anyone during the Trump first term. There's a normalization that's happening. Yeah. Also, there's also a historical parallel here that we can point to as well in terms of, you know, the Nazi movement, the aesthetics of fascism, fashion and fascism intersecting, and how big fashion houses also had no issues with historical fascist movements and actually supported them too, whether it be Hugo Boss or even Chanel. I think that there is a historical parallel there to a certain degree, but you're absolutely right. It's something that I brought up as well. Oscar de la Renta was openly posting about dressing Usha Vance, right? JD Vance's wife. So I agree. All of these like elite corporations are this time around completely servile to the interests of fascists, right? Here it is. Oscar de la Renta talking about Ivanka Trump. Swipe to see the making of Ivanka Trump's custom pearl and crystal gown. Such elegance. This is something that I've thought about quite a bit, but it's look, all I'm saying is second time Trump version 2.0 is perceived as very normal, okay? Trump version 2.0 is no longer weird, odd, unique, an aberration. Trump version 1.0 was not necessarily unique in terms of like what he did, because he was the logical endpoint of the Republican Party, right? And I maintain that position quite a bit, and liberals would get mad at me whenever I said like Trump in 2016 was doing things that the Republicans would do. The only difference was he was more incompetent, more open about his corruption, and also utilizing the bully pulpit to accelerate racist rhetoric, right? Normalizing and accelerating racist rhetoric. And people will get kind of mad at me about it. They would say, like, what do you mean? No, you don't understand. Trump is different. Trump is different. Trump is a different type of president. It's like, no, he accelerated down to January 6th, down to all of the election is stolen conspiracies. Donald Trump's attitude was not different than the rest of the Republican Party. His communication was different than the rest of the Republican Party. And I used to point to the likes of Paul Ryan, institutional Republicans that were considered normal Republicans that would get like puff pieces about how he likes to work out and stuff like that by GQ, doing the same exact the elections are stolen by immigrants rhetoric, but using very different words. Like never fully openly stating that as a fact, right? Donald Trump, on the other hand, took away the dog whistles and basically went full tilt with it. And it was like he cast aside the civility and the aesthetics of civility. And I think that was shocking for a lot of liberals. They're like, what are you talking about? This is not how we do. This is not how we operate. This is not who we are. But while I was, clowning on the aesthetics focused, optics focused, civility focused, resistance liberalism the first time around, I do still think that level of pressure, at least to a certain degree, created a permission structure and a counterbalance against all of the awful things that the Trump administration was doing. And liberal media also was hyper focusing on all of the awful things that the Trump administration was doing. It's not happening this time around. Okay? That's what's truly interesting. It's not happening this time around. So I don't know what that is going to look like. I don't know what's going to what that's going to look like now. Liberalism is dead. It was already on its, it was already gasping for air, but it's officially, I think, dead. And what comes next, unfortunately for everyone, is obviously fascism. They have capital accumulation. They have concentration of power, backing from the capital accumulators and those who have concentrated power. They have better organizational structure. They have better entry points into institutional control. And very clearly, that is the new game in town. So we'll see what happens next. But as you look at all of these like wealthy aristocrats and politicians smiling and dining together, when you look at our elites enjoying the show, just remember that, this is This is in some ways going to be the expected outcome. This was always going to happen, but Donald Trump, I suspect, will, accelerate America's demise even more.
Times. The caveat here is everything does appear to be fluid, but Catherine is reporting there is a very good chance this will be far more sweeping in nature. But Dan, you're always so good at just helping us understand the difference between an actual pardon and a commutation, and they're two very different things here.
Very different. A pardon basically means you're erasing any conviction.
Okay, they're talking about Brandon's last second pardons. CNN, while pointing out all the tech billionaires and CEOs, President Trump's inauguration just glosses over the millions said billionaires and CEOs funneled to Trump, and instead treating it as a branding and aesthetics exercise.
But these folks.
And then just scattered throughout are these tech CEOs.
Yeah. I mean, the exclusivity of this room is incredible. I mean, there are governors and high-level elected officials who are in the overflow.
Like, if you're a Republican today and you're watching me right now, or you're watching CNN, you go, what's the problem? Every other previous Democratic administration has enjoyed all of this glazing from our tech overlords. Why is it a problem when we finally have that, right? And I think that's a valid perspective to have. And that's what I'm trying to explain, is that the billionaires, no matter who's in charge, do not have your best interest in mind. And I hope that is clear when you come here. That's why I always say there's no such thing as like good billionaires and bad billionaires or whatever, that they only care about profit. Okay? And now, because they recognize that there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of instability born out of the wealth inequality, that they consider someone like Trump to be a better alternative than the Democratic Party that is seen as incompetent, because Trump represents order with a fist. Okay, because that's what fascism is. That's what fascism has historically offered the wealthy oligarchs of the past. That is precisely what Hitler's bargain was. That is precisely the reason why he was backed by a lot of these wealthy capitalists in Nazi Germany. Because fascism will present, at a time when there's instability, fascism presents order, okay? Order through violence, order through brutality. But more importantly than order, fascism does not actually overthrow the pre-existing hierarchy. It maintains it in increasingly more violent ways. That's what happens. It offers stability at a time of instability. Why did Kamala have more billionaire donors then? See, this is what I'm saying. Like, I don't care. I don't like Kamala Harris. I don't like that she was cozying up to billionaires either. You are a regular American. You are not a billionaire. You are not an oligarch. And as a regular American, it does not matter to you whether those billionaires are standing next to a Democrat or a Republican. Okay? Both parties in this duopoly will serve their interests. Key sectors like oil and gas will hedge their bets more in favor of the Republican Party. And in the past, tech sector billionaires were oftentimes hedging their bets with the liberal mechanisms of control. Seems like they feel pretty comfortable with both parties. Of course they do, because they are. Because at the end of the day, Democrat or Republican, both parties, with some exceptions, at least on the Democratic side with like the likes of Bernie Sanders or whatever, both parties are there to serve their interests. Both parties are there to manage their profit-seeking attitude. Both parties are there to, do a little bit of deregulation, do a little bit of tax cuts. One more so than the other. That is my point. My point is that both parties under our duopoly serve the interests of capital. what's unique about this predicament, what's unique about this situation unfolding in front of us, is that this time around, the tech billionaires that have presented themselves as liberals for a very long time are openly saying they're on board with the Republican train now. They're on board the Trump train. They're going choo-choo. It's not weird or unique to see, oil barons at the inauguration. It's not unique or weird to see the likes of Miriam Adelson at the inauguration standing next to the Republican Party. What's unique is seeing Zuckerberg and the Google CEO and those guys. That's unique. Their presence at the Republican inauguration is unique because they have historically presented themselves as liberals. They've historically sided with the Democratic Party as their preferred way of getting their interests across. But the question I have remains, which is, why are we servile to their interests? Why do we have to sit back and let them dominate the conversation?
150 years ago.
It doesn't seem... Is that Amy Klobuchar speaking? It doesn't seem like a democracy, does it?
House wing of the Capitol was built, and in the midst of the Civil War, Congress dedicated this chamber to host statues chosen by every state. Walking into the hall, we all passed under the arch, holding the marble car of history clock. The statue shows Cleo, the Greek muse of history, holding a book to record events as they happen. And as you can see, she's heard a lot of stuff. And as she rides her chariot forward into the future, she looks behind her to remember the past. She remains here as she has for hundreds of years, a reminder that history will remember the events of the present, and it is on us to write that history right now. Speaking of art, the painting right here before you, I chose this painting for this lunch this summer, and it's titled American Horizon.
I don't care about this stuff, dude. Oh my God. This stuff is so stupid. More like silly aesthetic focused nonsense. Congressional luncheon time. All right, let's see what the CNN, what the good people over at CNN had to say about all these tech billionaires sitting side by side, standing side by side with the Trump
and then just
admin,
scattered throughout
admin.
are these tech CEOs.
Yeah. I mean, the exclusivity of this room is incredible. I mean, there are governors and high-level elected officials who are in the overflow. But these folks, we should also remind people, they paid money into the Donald Trump inaugural fund. Mark Zuckerberg and Meta, they wrote $1 million checks. And $1 million check, I suppose, gets you in the room where it happens.
I agree with you, Abby, but this is about as mutually beneficial as it gets. Because, as I think you said earlier, Donald Trump is the ultimate producer, and he understands branding and marketing and imagery as well as, or better than most.
And then just scattered throughout.
Yeah, this isn't branding and marketing and imagery. This is, they're not wrong when they say it's a mutually beneficial relationship. They're not wrong about that. They're right about that. It is mutually beneficial. Wealthy members of the oligarchy purchase politicians, purchase Congress, in order to ensure that they never get regulated when regulation is a necessity, okay? And also, Trump simultaneously takes advantage of any outlet, any mode of communication that will give him a benefit, that will boost him, that will accelerate the right-wing the right-wing attitude, like that will serve the purpose of pushing right-wing messaging. Okay? Jeff Bezos owns a newspaper. Jeff Bezos owns Washington Post. Elon Musk owns Twitter. Google owns YouTube, and obviously Google as well, and numerous other properties. Mark Zuckerberg owns Facebook. And the last part of that equation, Tim Cook obviously owns Apple. The last part of that equation was TikTok. And we know, and as I've covered this before, TikTok wanted to get in the good graces of the Trump administration, or at least like the Republican Party, because they thought if we actually glaze Donald Trump, they won't get us banned and we can continue having TikTok. And it worked. At least so far, it has worked. And here it is, the CEO of TikTok sitting next to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, at President Trump's inauguration. How do people still think the Republican Party is against the establishment and the elite? Marketing. The reason why people think the Republican Party is against the establishment and the elite, despite the fact that it's comprised entirely of the elite and it's comprised entirely of the establishment, and it is the establishment once again, is because of marketing. Because they think, it's the same reason why people think that someone like Ted Cruz, okay, or any number of different like Republican politicians are real salt of the earth guys, and AOC, in spite of the fact that she was a fucking bartender 4 years ago or 5 years ago, is actually not a real salt of the earth kind of person and not close to the working class because she's a brown woman, okay, from New York. Ted Cruz wears the snakeskin boots and can then adorn the aesthetics of the working class. And that's what it is. People respond to that. In the United States of America, because class politics are so muddied, so eviscerated, so thoroughly gutted, that how you look and how you carry yourself and how close you are to being like racist is a better signifier in the eyes of many for being working class, for being of a working class background, than being quote unquote woke. Wokeness is identified with elitism. The Democratic Party is identified with HR, management, professional managerial class, at least up until now. Okay? And that's it. Now, obviously, there's issues, or rather, I have that same hat. Goddamn. There's obviously reasons for why. Like I think the Democratic Party's ineptitude, in my opinion, has also contributed to this as well. Stop giving a shit. Thank you for the 20 gifted subs. Allowing 20 people to no longer see the ads at the middle of the hour or the top of the hour, even though I don't run the ads any longer. But you too can subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Twitch Prime is free if you want to support the broadcast.
Good afternoon.
Here's
on
Trump's
the greatest
here's Trump's
inauguration day ever.
Campaign head, or whatever his name is, the guy who's in charge of like the new
Today
cabinet
is one of the
appointments.
most important days in American history because Donald J. Trump is right now heading back to the White House. I could not be prouder to be standing before you.
There's one thing that I'm also worried about with respect to TikTok. Remember what I said about TikTok, like juicing right-wing algo stuff? I will admit that, what is happening? I will admit that I worry about what the TikTok algorithm is going to look like. What the TikTok algorithm is going to look like in the Trump administration. I really, really, really hope that they don't boost the right even further and turn it into Twitter 2.0. Because if TikTok goes by the way of Twitter, we're done. It's over. Global permanent neo-Nazi regime. Every single social media platform in the United States of America is incredibly slanted to the right. Now, one of the things that I want to say, one of the things that I noticed, that I saw, this is, a lot of people are saying this now. A lot of people are posting stuff like this. I don't know the veracity of this, but TikTok is now region locking Americans from looking up things like fascism. Donald Trump rigged the election. On the left are results from a device in America. On the right are results from the UK. This might be fake. I don't think this is like I like this is all these people are immediately rushing to this. Like I don't know if that's a real thing or not. Like I'm looking up fascism and it's showing up. I don't know why people are saying that it's not showing up. I tried it. It's not. Donald Trump rigged election. Yeah. Oh, it says the Donald Trump rigged election. The phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Okay, that's new. Wait, let me see. Donald Trump sucks. Okay, you can still look that up. Yeah, no, I hold on. Let me go on TikTok desktop. Let's see if the TikTok desktop is working in a similar way. Donald Trump rigged election is no longer allowed. That's weird. Hold on. Oh my God. Yeah. Donald Trump rigged election. When you search, it says this phrase may be associated with behavior or content that violates our guidelines. Promoting a safe and positive experience is TikTok's top priority. Oh my God, we're turning into the fucking Republicans. Let's see. Joe Biden rigged election. No, it's not. Yeah, rigged election is not allowed. No. See, it won't let you do Joe Biden. Let's see. Rigged election. Yeah, rigged election is not working. No, fascism comes up with stuff. I looked it up before. Yeah, fascism still shows up. Trump Epstein. That stuff comes up. And I'm pretty sure like Gaza or genocide and things like that still, yeah, there's no deboosting on that stuff. Okay. I don't think it's I think this is just like a rigged election thing, maybe to comply with like, I'm telling you right now, I think the rigged election one might be to just like at a time when they were getting yelled at quite a bit by everyone with suspicions that TikTok might rig the election or whatever. They might have just like simply added this extra precaution. Does that make sense? Because there was obviously an election that took place in America, and considering that people were very upset, or people were very suspicious about TikTok potentially, rigging the outcome of the election or whatever, Free Palestine is being censored. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, Free Luigi is not being censored either. You're wrong. I don't know why people are just doing that. Anyway, people are kind of latching on to anything right now. Yeah, I think that it is important for you in this time to not immediately jump to certain conclusions. What do I always say? What do I always say? If a narrative seems too good to be true, okay, there is a likelihood that it might be false. Just whenever you see something online that corresponds to your existing biases, okay, the first thing you should do, instead of immediately adopting that as the truth, the first thing you should do, and sometimes it might be true, but the first thing you should do always is to go, wait a minute, let me check to make sure. He explained this beautifully. It's a 404, can't find the I don't know what the link you're sending me. The term rigged election seems to be the issue. Also typed in Bush and Gore, and that showed nothing. This is healthy, okay? It's healthy whenever you see a narrative, whenever you see something, okay, that corresponds to what you already believe. Please, first thing you should always do is check yourself and be as critical as you possibly can be.
Thing that we can do right now. If you heard,
I do think that the TikTok CEO and TikTok in general absolutely boosted Charlie Kirk. I've talked about this before. And I think the reason why they did that is because they thought if they boost Charlie Kirk has Trump's ear, and he will say nice things about TikTok, and he will talk about how TikTok is wonderful for wonderful for making the youth more right wing. I do believe that. This is something that I have talked about quite a bit. And actually, as far as it stands, it was a successful gambit. Now, having said that, will they continue doing that? Probably. I don't know. TikTok, as far as I have seen from my own personal anecdotes, but also from like some of the relatively shitty media analysis that is readily available, TikTok is the only social media platform that has parity in terms of political ideology. Every other platform is dominated and slanted to the right. Every single one, right? TikTok is the only platform where there is some semblance of parity. This is important to acknowledge. But that doesn't mean that there isn't right-wing content on that platform. Of course there is. Of course there is, right? And I think one of the best arguments that I saw about this, one of the best warnings that I saw came from, what's his name? Is it Garrett Hayes? Or Garrison Hayes? Where is it? One of the best videos I saw on this.
You know, I hate.
Here, I want you to watch this because I think it's a pretty solid take. Let's take a look.
To have a wrong opinion on a day like today. This is the worst possible day to have a bad opinion because you won't get a chance to fix it tomorrow. But have you considered?
Why are people in here accepting the liberal framing that TikTok is a communist app? Weakest Ugobnik enjoyer. I don't think people are accepting that TikTok is a communist app. I think people are simply looking at the situation and recognizing that TikTok is one of the only social media platforms where there have been opportunities for like actually leftists, communists, socialists, and very progressive people in building a platform. Okay? And I think that is part of the reason why people think that, you know, here, just let my man, I'm going to let my man Garrison do the talking, okay?
Consider that a lot of your political enemies want to save TikTok. Like the right-wing propaganda machine known as Turning Point USA bragged that they were doing 60 million views a day leading up to the election, like this just this past election cycle on TikTok alone. If there is anyone who understands the impact of getting that many views per day, it is your soon-to-be president, Donald J. Trump, the man who actively lobbied the Supreme Court to save this app. If you were one of the many people who were wondering why so many young people were turning toward the right, especially in this past election, it is at least in part because while your side of the algorithm is gender justice and free Palestine, there is another side of the algorithm. And it isn't made up of a small number of people. There are a ton of people on that other side of the algorithm. It is essentially a full-blown hate crime factory. Like, it's just convincing people to hate other people constantly. And I think the political enemies of the marginalized know this. They did the calculations and are trying to preserve this thing, this app, because they think it provides them with a strategic advantage in the long run. Maybe just in general. Clearly, it was some strategic advantage just this past cycle. Listen, I love TikTok. This app literally changed my life. I met some amazing people through this app. You all who follow me are incredible, and I hope you'll come subscribe on YouTube. But this is just something to consider, like who stands to benefit the most from a power perspective from this place. And
so I don't disagree with this. I think that it's important to also recognize this aspect of it, because on the one hand, while TikTok still has some semblance of parity, ideological parity, that still means that there is a steady flow of insane right-wing nonsense on there. Okay. And I do think that right-wingers understand the value that TikTok gives them in terms of propaganda, the value that TikTok offers them in terms of yet another platform where they can supercharge their right-wing propaganda, reactionary content that creates loyal soldiers for the Republican Party and creates loyal soldiers for the reactionary movement in general. Okay. It doesn't have to immediately, it doesn't have to actually make, for example, young men, right, into people that are card-carrying Republican Party voters. That's not the project. The project is, as long as they are apolitical but right-wing in a lot of these like key issues, they can be captured. Their attention can always be captured, and their anger and resentment can always be weaponized. And I do think that is, I do think that that's important to recognize, and it goes along with something that I've been warning about quite a bit in terms of like how right-wing young male spaces look like nowadays. And TikTok, just like every other platform, TikTok is not alone in this, and TikTok is far from the worst platform on this issue. YouTube is terrible for this, okay? Twitter is obviously the worst one out of all of them. Facebook doesn't really have a lot of young people, but Facebook is also very right-wing as well. Like all of the social media platforms that we use that are seen as like the only places where people can gather and communicate with one another are incredibly slanted to the right. That is devastating, okay? This was part of the reason why I maintained the position that that you know, TikTok was while still churning out right-wing propaganda at an alarming rate, still had some semblance of leftist commentary on it as well. And I know that people will say, Hasan, this is just like silly social media platform stuff. Like, why do you care about this so much? But in an environment where we do not have any sort of organizational tools, and that our production capacities, our forces of production are basically moving away from the assembly line, so that we are more alienated from our labor and we're more isolated from one another, which makes it harder to organize, which makes it harder to recognize solidarity, class solidarity specifically amongst workers. The only place where people actually gather in groups are online. And online spaces can be easily manipulated. Online spaces can be easily manipulated, easily brigaded, change people's attitudes over certain things. And the more time we spend online and away from other people, the worse I think these organizational tools will become. The more right-wing these social media platforms get, the worse things get overall. Yes, but isn't TikTok most views for progressive content versus other social platforms? I know, that's why I'm saying that like TikTok has been both a benefit and a burden at the same time, but in comparison to all the other content platforms out there, it's certainly not the worst. It's definitely better than the other ones. And that is part of the reason why I maintain the position that TikTok shouldn't get banned. That's the reason why I think people wanted TikTok to get banned. That's what carried it over the finish line.
This one really mattered. And I just want to say thank you.
Anyway, let's look at one of these tech billionaire oligarchs speaking at the inauguration.
My heart goes out to you.
Did he just Sig Heil?
It is thanks to you that the future of civilization is assured. Thanks to you. We're going to have safe cities, finally, safe cities. Secure borders, sensible spending, basic stuff. And we're going to take Doge to Mars. I mean, can you imagine how awesome it will be to have American astronauts plant the flag on another planet for the first time? Yeah! How inspiring would that be? You know, there's always problems in life. You know, there's this problem, solve that problem. But you know, there need to be things that inspire you. There need to be things that make you glad to wake up in the morning and say, I'm looking forward to the future. Yeah. And I love you guys. So, and let me tell you, I'm going to work my ass off for you guys. So, I really will. I really will. So, and yeah, but I'm super fired up for the future. It's going to be very exciting. As the president said, we're going to have a golden age. It's going to be fantastic. And one of the fundamental things, one of the most American values that I love is optimism. And this feeling like we're gonna make the future good. We're gonna make it good. So
I think aesthetically American, like the American reactionary movement is so funny because it's also incredibly lame. Like fascist movements of the past hyper focused on the aesthetics, right? They cared a lot about their visual output. They had this like insane, intense interest in making it seem as though they were superior and that like moral degeneracy must be squashed and that everything down to the minutia was organized. And it's kind of funny to think that like the American version of that is so lame. Is so, not to say that like German fascism was cool or whatever, but like they obviously placed a lot of emphasis on the aesthetics of order. Okay, like the visual output was important. The way that people delivered speeches, these were things that they cared about quite a bit. Whereas in the United States of America, we're just like we have these like obvious losers being like, we're gonna place a Dogecoin on Mars. Anyway, here's Kash Patel.
I'll tell you how. He and I share something deeply. We love the American dream. And we have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty because we just inaugurated Donald J. Trump as our 47th president.
Did anyone catch the Roman salute that Elon hit?
And we just inaugurated J.D. Vance as our Vice President of the United States. And we did that because the American dream is alive and well, because you chose that our dream can be the dream for our children and the dream for our world. And we are at a crossroads here in America, but our future is bright because you had the courage to stand for your convictions. So I'm humbled here to talk to you about why I love the American dream. My story's pretty simple, it's unique, and some of you share in it. My parents were born and raised in East Africa. My father in the 1970s fled a genocidal dictatorship in Uganda, where he saw 300,000 of his countrymen murdered, where he saw what lawlessness would do if it was allowed to break through the system of constitutional justice. He fled, like so many others. He married my mother. They moved here. They waited in line. They stood in line because the American dream was worth standing in line for. That dream is woven into the fabric of this nation, and our immigration policy is the greatest policy in the world. And now that we have Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance, it will become the greatest policy in the world again. But dreams and hopes aren't enough, my friends. We got to get to work. And we got to accept the realities that too many of you know from your communities. President Trump launched in his first term priorities of national security, law enforcement, economy, and global diplomacy. But now we have to retread some of that. And I'd just like to go over a few of the things that our community has been living under these last few years. In the last calendar year alone, we had 100,000 drug overdoses. In the last calendar year alone, we had over 100,000 rapes. In the last calendar year alone, we had 17,000.
Bro, that's why we put Pete Hegseth. Dude, I just realized these guys are actually woke abolitionists. They're offering the rapists jobs so that they're too busy to do rapes. Dude, I didn't even think about that. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's why they're like, oh, if you're a rapist, like you should get a job with us so you no longer have the time to do rapes. These guys are actually woke, man. That's what they were doing.
Future generations, but thank God we will.
Just kidding. They're actually just saying it's the immigrants doing the rapes, even though, ironically enough, it's the fucking Secretary of Defense.
The priorities that I cherished during my 16 years in government service, that we will always, always honor men and women who wear the cloth of our nation and stand on that wall and tell you nothing's getting by them tonight. And so to them, thank you.
Calm down. What's happening?
To our teachers and our frontline workers and our first responders, y'all choose to show up every single day for our children, for our communities, and we will now show up for you. Thank you for keeping us safe. To the men and women in law enforcement, and maybe I'm biased on this one. Our police officers, our sheriffs, our federal agents are some of the greatest warriors that God has ever created. And we will put them first because they have our backs, and now we will have your backs. I am standing here because of the American dream. I am not standing here because of the color of my skin. I'm standing here because I earned my right on this stage, and you earned your right to be here with me. And I promise you this, with every fiber of my being, that our law enforcement, that our teachers, that our first responders, that our veterans, that our men and women in uniform who dare to serve this country and put themselves below the rest of our needs will be reprioritized to the top of the heap because they are standing on that wall, and we will not let that light go dark on them. Whether I was a national security prosecutor, a President Trump's Deputy Director of National Intelligence, his Chief of Staff at the Department of Defense, or so many other roles that I was humbled and privileged to serve when I swore an oath to that Constitution, which I hope to do so again one day soon. You have my word that you have ushered in a dynasty of change. You have ushered in a dynasty that will allow our children to live this American dream. My American dream. I am living the world's American dream. I am the son of lawful immigrants. We worked our tails off just like you all do, and I'm going to make you a deal. I promise you I will never quit on your children. I will never quit on their children, because this American dream does not belong to me. It does not belong to them. This American dream belongs to the world. So in closing, I just want to tell you this. It's pretty cool to be speaking in Capital One Arena right before the boss. You've inspired me beyond words. Your love, your devotion, your commitment to our country, everywhere I go, shows us that we are not only the beacon of hope, but we are the land of constitutional justice. We are the land under Donald J. Trump and J.D. Vance, where we are going to end the two-tier system of justice. We are going to remove the weaponization of the intelligence community for political purposes. And we are going to put the men and women of America first. So listen, there's just one thing left to do. We all got work to do. We've got the greatest president and the greatest vice president in the history of the world. And so I just need you all to do a little bit more. Every time you see a law enforcement officer, every time you see a veteran, every time you see a teacher, shake their hand. Give them a little bit of your time, because they're giving us all of our time. And don't forget to enjoy the ride, ladies and gentlemen. God bless America. God bless these United States of America. God bless every one of you. I'm living the American dream. My name is Kash Patel, and I ain't going anywhere. Let's go to work.
Heading up the FBI. And you know, this great coverage we've been able to bring you all day, courtesy
Bro, that's crazy, dude. They have a betting app. Oh my God, they have a betting app that's like sponsoring the inauguration where they're talking about Trump's banning of TikTok chances. Dude, I don't know how else to describe how dystopian America is right now, okay? I just don't know. I don't know what else to say. America's on fire all the time. It's underwater all the time. There are, like, Texas probably is going to lose its energy once again due to climate change. It was like snowing in Houston the other day, okay? And it's not even like a cool dystopia. Where are the fucking neon lights? Where's my Suckmaster 5000? I don't got none of the cool stuff. The only capitalist dystopia that we exist under allows the leadership to do cryptocurrency rug pulls a day before they actually become the president. Like, that is how lame things are. I will admit, while I do know that things were going to get bad, I just didn't think that it would be like the collapse of American empire would be so lame, you know? It's crazy, man. It's crazy to think. Yeah, the only Suckmaster 5000 is Mark Zuckerberg at the Capitol. As your Houston chatter, the snow is supposed to come in at like dinner time tonight. Something stupid like 5 inches of it. Oh, Jesus. Oh. What are you going to do if you get censored? I mean, I'm a leftist. That much is always a possibility. That's something that I've thought about and had to actively think about my entire career. Okay? That's never, there's not much I can do about that. The reality of the matter is, any sort of anti-capitalist sentiment, no matter how non-radical it appears, okay, no matter how normal it appears, actually, the more normal it appears, the worse, honestly, the more dangerous, is always going to be threatening to the bottom line of our corporate oligarchs. So there is always going to be some semblance of suppression. I have long maintained the position that free speech, or the expansive free speech that we see in the United States of America, can only exist because America has been the global hegemonic superpower. And as America's power on the global stage wanes, okay, as is no longer the only game in town, you will see more restrictions. You will see the true limitations of free speech. And by that, I mean that I don't mean that we've had like expansive free speech or free speech always has existed in America. Of course it hasn't. Look no further than this past year where 3,500 college students were arrested on campuses for the crime of protesting against Israel's apartheid regime and Israel's genocide. That is antithetical to free speech, right? That is the exact opposite, because free speech is not about like saying whatever you want without any sort of repercussions on private platforms or whatever. Free speech is protecting you from government suppression. So when you get arrested for the crime of protesting, which is constitutionally protected, you are experiencing that immediate violation. BDS laws that have made it illegal to protest Israel is a direct violation of First Amendment rights in this country. And yet they've existed in perpetuity, right? Boycott, divestment, and sanctions on the state of Israel. In the state of Texas, for example, if you want to be a public school teacher, you have to sign a piece of paper that says you'll never boycott Israel. You'll never demand sanctions on Israel. You'll never demand divestment from Israel. Okay? And they exist in 32 plus states in this nation right now. These laws were written by the pro-Israeli lobby. Okay? the vice president is talking now? I don't see it because I'm on Right Side Broadcasting and they're not showing the vice president talking. So I don't know. So understand that there has always been limits to free speech, like real free speech. Okay? There has always been limitations on free speech. After all, this is the country where the McCarthyist trials happened. The Red Scare happened. That was a direct violation. That was government prosecution for people exercising their freedom of assembly, for people exercising their speech, for people openly saying that they subscribe to a certain ideology that the government thought was inappropriate and unacceptable. Look no further than what this country has done to revolutionary black organizers and activists and leaders. They've assassinated them. They've jailed them. That is a direct violation of free speech. And in the modern era, look no further than what the government has done to anti-Israel protesters. That is yet another violation of free speech. But having said that, while those sorts of restrictions have always existed, whether it be punishing whistleblowers, real whistleblowers, not fake ones, or punishing activists, that's always existed. What you must understand is that the silly types of free speech restrictions that you hear about in like China, for example, oh, you can't compare Xi Jinping to Winnie the Pooh. That kind of stuff, those kinds of restrictions had not existed in the United States of America. And part of the reason why they had not is because America is so powerful that those sorts of silly things, that level of control, that level of censorship was never seen as a necessity. Okay? It's not even true, by the way. It doesn't matter. Okay. The reality of the matter is, fuck the Winnie the Pooh stuff, but yeah, the Chinese social media platforms do have more rigorous control. The Chinese government definitely surveils certain speech, and the Chinese government is obviously more combative towards political dissidents. This much is true. In the United States of America, there are still obviously criminal penalties that apply for people exercising their First Amendment rights. Absolutely. In direct violation of the First Amendment, obviously. But the permission structure is like the bandwidth for it, and the permission for what you can and can't say is far more expansive. But here is the difference. Okay? Here is the difference. The reason why it is far more expansive in America is because America is the global superpower. It has been the only game in town in perpetuity. Okay? Understand that. That is the only way. That is the only reason why America can be like so comfortable with political dissidents. Because America sees political dissidents as powerless ultimately. Until now. Because as the situation worsens, as the collapse becomes inevitable, you will see the American government start taking actions like this. And I think trying to ban TikTok in this way was a pretty clear-cut indicator of that. Okay? It was a pretty clear-cut indicator of that, because if you've ever heard me talk about like free speech limitations in countries that are outside of the sphere of American influence, you've already heard me say that, yes, of course, Cuba, for example, treats political dissidents with criminal penalties. But Cuba, on the other hand, has constantly been in a state of war since the Cuban Revolution, a state of war against the largest superpower on the planet that has unjustifiably placed Cuba under a blockade, a country that consistently tries to interfere in the politics of Cuba, right? So while I disagree with this on principle, while I disagree with any sort of limitation on free speech on principle, I do understand from a realistic perspective why certain states would apply certain restrictions to free speech. And those restrictions have existed in the United States of America in times of war especially, right? Speaking out against any sort of war initiatives would land you in jail during World War I. That's why Eugene Debs actually went to prison. Speaking out against war in World War II also landed you in prison. Speaking out against war during Vietnam also landed you in prison. And speaking out against war right now, even though it is not a draft-style state violence in the same way that we have seen in Vietnam, you still see people experiencing criminal repercussions for it. So, obviously, when push comes to shove, when times are tough, the American government absolutely has scaled back its principled approach to freedom of speech. And I think, what point are you trying to make here? Can you bring this back to something key here? I am. My point is the same, which is that the limits to what is permissible speech are going to get more and more restrictive. That's it. As America loses its grip of power at the global stage, you will start seeing our politicians panic and increase the mechanisms of enforcement. And that is where we're at now. That's it. That is where we are at now. Permissible speech in the United States of America and in Western nations, for the most part, have often protected far-right speech. It has never had that same level of protection for leftist speech in general, anti-capitalist speech in general. As a matter of fact, it's more often than not used and weaponized against communists, socialists, trade unionists. Okay? That's why historically fascist movements have always gotten police protection, whether it be in the United States of America or in England or anywhere else. When fascists march on the streets, cops march alongside them. When socialists fight back, the cops brutalize the anti-fascists. This happened under the first Trump administration as well, and it will certainly happen in the second Trump administration. This is also something to consider. Reading a script? I'm not. But thank you for thinking that I'm reading a script, even though I'm going off the dome.
Most animated response you saw from Elon Musk is when Donald Trump talked about planting our stars and stripes on Mars. That is certainly something that would likely benefit SpaceX, which has poured billions of dollars into space travel and including the efforts to get humans to Mars eventually at some point in the future. And in fact, there's been this behind-the-scenes conversation, a great debate going on with NASA about whether or not we should be focusing our attention initially on getting to the moon and then to Mars. Elon Musk has said repeatedly that the moon, he sees it as a distraction. It also isn't part of the SpaceX business plan in as great of detail as Mars is. So certainly you can understand why there were those cheers today from Elon Musk at that point. He's also...
All right, let's get to let's watch the swearing-in ceremony
Please
as we
raise
wait
your
for the
right
next
hand
event.
and repeat after me. I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear.
I, James David Vance, do solemnly swear
that I will support.
Wait, I thought his name was Johnson Don. I thought his name was John Don Vance.
And defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith.
That I will bear true faith.
And allegiance to the same.
And allegiance to the same.
That I take this obligation freely.
That I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
It's not Jorkin the Peanuts Vance? That's crazy.
Any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
And that I will well and faithfully discharge.
The duties of the office.
The duties of the office.
On which I am about to enter.
On which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
They want everything, man. They want everything.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chief Justice Roberts to administer the presidential oath of office.
I clipped the sus Elon gesture. So did a billion people. Bro, Steven Crowder said, bro, what? Chat. Please. You want to know something? Look at, dude, that move from Elon Musk was so insane. Steven Crowder posted it.
Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
Do you understand how insane that is? My man hit that Roman salute, dude. That is not a sus moment. It's not suspicious. It's auspicious, okay? It's out there. It's out and about. Why do you say Roman and not Nazi? I mean, I don't know, because it's technically it's called the Roman salute. That's why. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just Sig Heiling. He actually did two of them. Yeah, he hit the back to back. The two-time. Grimes, it wasn't a Nazi salute. It was a Roman salute. The father of my children would never Nazi salute. Please, can I see my child now, Elon? Thank you for following me back, Elon.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly.
Yeah, people are talking about how Donald John Trump didn't put his hand on the Bible when he was being sworn in, and I think that's really funny because he's the fucking Antichrist, okay? You want to know why he didn't put his hand on the Bible? Because he's the Antichrist. If he touches the Bible and swears on it, he will erupt in flame, okay? No, because he's Muslim. Yeah, that too. Also, that's true. That's true.
Solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
We did it. We did it. We did it. Oh my God, we did it. Here, let's.